Hey everybody, I saw this really neat Excel tutorial from Nick V over at Spotlight Impact Data Design and thought maybe there's a way to extend it. So let me show you what Nick did. He created this bar chart, has the numbers at the end of the bar and then the labels just above the bars. I'll remake this for you in just a second so you can see how he did it. But you could go over to his YouTube channel and check it out. He's got some other really nice tutorials in there. And I'll just do it quickly here. But when I saw him do this, I was started thinking, can we do this can we take that approach and do it with a stacked bar chart? And the answer is yes. And there are two ways. The way that Nick did it, I think, works the way that I sort of thought I would do it, the way I would basically do it, also works. But I'm going to show you both of them, and you can decide what one works for you. So let's start with the chart that Nick made. I'm just going to remake this for you. So we've got basically two data series here. Well, actually, it's the same data series. I'm going to call it segment A and segment A. It's the same data, okay? So for this chart, we're just going to repeat that bar, and it's just the same one. This is the same, roughly the same thing that Nick did, so you can go over there and check it out. I'm going to make this chart a little bit bigger. The way I like to do it is select the Format tab, click this button over here to lock the ratio so that when I change either of these, the other one's going to change proportionally, and I'm going to make this 5, so it's just a little bit bigger. And I'll just make all the text a little bit bigger and use a better font. Not a huge fan of Calibri. Okay, so now we've got this chart. All right, so let's just take a look. If like the blue bars are the bars that we want to end up with, we could add data labels. And so there's the number for our data label. And just following the way Nick did this, I'm going to put this inside the end, so it's at the end. And I could change the color there to make it white. Okay, it's at the end there, great. All right, now the other thing that we can do here with the bars, right, any of these bars, if I select blue or orange, is I can change the width and the overlap. So the width is the width of the gap. So if I shrink this down, the bars seemingly get bigger. It's sort of a weird way to think about it, I always thought. But if I shrink this down, the bars get a little bit bigger. We're going to come back to this in a second. Let's take the orange bars and add a data label. And here, instead of having the numbers, we're going to change this to the category name. Again, I always have to just click around here, like no harm, no foul. So the series name, I'm going to put it inside the base instead of at the end. For the numbers, I like to have them at the end or just outside the bar, the way Nick set it up, because I think it reinforces the number, the value, as opposed to putting it inside the base as it is here. All right, now that we have these set up, you can see we're getting close here. Now all we can have to do is change this overlap. And if we make this overlap bigger, you can see that they're just going to sort of sit on top of one another. And if I take the fill off of these orange bars, that group label just sits there. And so I could go back and change this overlap to move the bar and hence the label where I want it. So I'm just sort of moving this around a little bit. So now I'm pretty much set, right? And I can delete my horizontal axis labels. It's mostly aesthetic, but I also think like we don't need the axis labels because we've labeled the bars. We can get rid of that. We can get rid of the grid lines. We don't need those. We don't need the label, the legend down here. And of course, now we don't need those axis labels. And so we're pretty much done. If you wanted to, the one thing you'll notice here is that there's a little bit of a bigger gap at the top of this chart than at the bottom of the chart. Not a huge deal. If it bothered you, you could just grab a little of this plot area and just shrink it down a little bit, and now you've sort of got it set up. And if you wanted to make these bars a little bit bigger, a little bit fatter, you could just do that and change the gap width. So, okay, great, works, lovely, good job. Really like that video from Nick. Go check it out. Check out his YouTube channel. Can we do this for a stacked bar? Well, the answer is yes. So what we need to do is take a technique I've seen from John Peltier to create a paired stacked bar chart. So here's the raw data. So what I mean by a paired stacked bar chart is here's the stacked bars, right? I'm just gonna put this over here so you can see it. What if I want these just next to each other, right? Just the way like a paired bar chart would be, right? If I just made like, here, I'll grab these so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's a paired bar chart, right? Just like this, they're all next to each other, right? What if I want to have that for these? You can't do that as a default approach in Excel unless you change that gap width down to 0 and you get some weird looking thing. But the way John set it up is very clever. And what we can do is, I'm just going to make a little fix here so you can see this final version. You can see it's going to work out. What we can do here for the final version is just add a little bit of space around the data here so that we're going to create some dummy series that are going to be empty that will create this effect of looking like I've got this paired stacked bar chart. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same approach that Nick showed in his video by adding another sort of dummy series for the labels. So what I'm going to do here first, and I'll show you why this is important. I'm just going to fill in all of these labels. So the first 3 rows are for group 1 with the data in the middle row. Second grouping is for group 2, group 3, and then group 4. All right, so now we've got this set up. This is actually going to be important. We'll come back to this in a second. So I'm going to just select all these data. It's important to have the 3 groupings for each. You want to have the space at the beginning and the end, top and bottom. So I'm going to go over here and select that, and I'm going to add my chart. I'm going to just go format real quick again, change that format and make that a 5. Okay, so I've got this pretty much set. Now, you'll notice here that I've got 1 down to 4. I'm going to repeat that here for whatever reason. Nobody seems to know. But Excel switches the order here in these chart types. So I'm going to switch that back. It's 2 clicks, categories in reverse order, and put the horizontal axis at the maximum category. So weird thing. I don't know why Excel does it. I'm not going to bother with it right now, but I'm just going to get that set. All right. You see we're getting pretty close here. So first thing I need to do is go back and change these widths again, right? So I'm going to change this width down to 0, okay? So that the width, the bars are as thick as possible on this chart now, because the gap is as large as possible, okay? And you can see here, if I just wanted to create this paired stacked bar chart, I basically have this set up. So you can see how this is working out. And you can see here that I actually can set up my labels so that they are arranged properly. And what I need to do here is just delete those labels that I just put on. And I've got those set up correctly. Now, let's add the labels the way Nick did in his video. Same thing. Now I have to do it 4 times. I have to do it separately. And here I'm going to add the series name and I'm going to put it inside the base because I think I'm just going to put it to the left. Doesn't really matter, I guess, for this one. You could leave it centered. It doesn't really matter. I always forget, again, like which one? Series? Yeah, series. Okay, great. And I'm going to put it inside the base. I'll move it over there. Got to do this again. Go quickly. Click, 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 click. Boom, 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 boom. You can see I still can't remember. Even within a chart, I can't remember. So I have to do that each time. One more time. I have to do this, grab it, do some little switches here. I think I finally got that, move that to the base. And now we change the fill on these bars to no fill. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're all set. And we've got those labeled. We'll change this to make it max out at 1. You know, we could change the format on those so it's 100%. We don't actually need all of those grid lines, so we'll make that 2. Change the number here, make this a percentage, all those fun things that, you know, require a million clicks in Excel. It's fine. I'm going to delete the legend here. I don't really need it. And you can see that this is set up. This works pretty nicely, right? Let me make that font different and a little bit bigger. And so you can see that actually this technique works. And if you wanted to add color to these, you certainly could. You know, here's the blue. Here's the orange, et cetera, right? Okay, so that actually works. Now, 2 things. First off, I feel like the bars are a little thin here. So that nothing I can do about that, right? I've maxed this gap width out. So there's nothing I can really do. Can't really change. The overlap is maxed out, so I can't really change that. Second thing is, let me go back. Remember, I had all the names here for these series at the beginning. And I want to show you why I did that. I'm going to go back and select the same data series. This is the same exact reference that I selected earlier. I'm going to insert the stacked bar chart again, and you'll see here that I get a weird sort of result, right? That it doesn't quite have all the data, right? And it's sort of offset in a weird way. And that's because, notice here, for this chart, the labels, it's reading the first 2 rows as the labels, as opposed to in this chart over here, where it's reading just the first row as a label. So it's just a little word of caution when you're making a chart. If you don't include the label in your first row or first column, Excel is going to view that as part of your text. So the simplest fix here would just be to just do group 1, and just leave that done like that, and then insert this chart, and you'd only have to remove 1 of those. Boom, and I'm all set, and I can go from here. So you can see that. Okay, that's one way to do it. Here's one more way to do it. Again, I don't know which way is better. This way may be a little bit, I mean, it's easier in one dimension, not easier in another dimension. So I have the raw data set up. I'm going to select the data. I don't have to do any of the weird spacing I did in the other version. I'm going to insert a stacked chart. I'm going to have to switch these because I want them summing to 100%. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I'm going to make this bigger, make it to 5. I'm going to change the font. I like this Lato font. I use that a lot. So that's 12. I'm going to make this axis 100%. So make that 1. And I'm going to change this grid line tick marks to 20%. Okay, so I've got, here's the chart. I'm pretty much set, okay? Now here, I can actually change the width of these bars more than I can in the other version, right? So I can actually make these, 75%, kind of looks pretty good. What about the labels? Well, the way I'm going to do the labels for this chart is I'm going to use a scatter plot. And you can see I already have these labels sort of set up over here. So let me put them on, and then I'll show you how I've calculated these. So I'm going to right click on my chart, say select data. I'm going to add, I always label my series, so chart. For the Y values, I'm going to put in this 11.9. I'll show you why I do that in just a second. Hit return and hit OK. And wait, they're not there. Where are they? I don't know. Well, let's go to the Format tab, use our drop-down menu. I have another video about this. I'm going to go to the labels, and they're sitting over here because it's a stacked chart. So Excel's just going to put them at the end. What I'm going to do now is change this series to a scatter plot. Okay, and it's going to do some weird stuff. We're going to ignore it for a moment and go back to select data and just fill in my X values. I'm just going across these 4 columns, and I'm going to hit OK. And you can see that they're set up right here. So I'm on a PC. If you're on, I'm on a Mac. If you're on a PC, you're going to need to just use the dual combo chart option. It's the same technique, but just slightly different combo option that you're going to change. Okay, so a couple other things here. Let's flip these again like we did last time. Forgot to do that earlier, so let's just flip this, put that down there, and let's max this axis range at 12%. Now this is just arbitrary. You can pick whatever number you want. 12% means when I put my values here at 11%, look, I have to put the zeros down too. Don't forget the zeros. You can see how it changed that automatically for me. So I want 0 to 12%. Here are my little dots. And so if I change these to like 11.9, it moves them up there. If I put it to 10, puts it right there. Let's go back to 11.9. I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to select my series, and I'm going to right click and say add data labels. Puts at 11.9. I'm going to format. And here I can do value from cells and select segment A, B, C, and D and hit OK. And get rid of the Y and be done there. I can select the markers and get rid of those. So none. And and hide this guy. I can hide it or just delete it. And I'm all set. I'm done. Now, if I want to change the color here, I have to do some double clicking. I have to click each one, and sort of change them one at a time. It's a little annoying, but, no worse than what I had to do previously. And I'm going to use this dark, dirty yellow here. And I'm going to select these and change their size to a 14, make them a little bigger, change that chart title over here, match what I have on the left to 18, and I've got that chart. And of course, now I can move these wherever I want, right? So this X series right here, I can pick whatever I want. So maybe I want it in the middle of each of the bars. So here, I'll just do 25% divided by 2. That's going to put that in the middle. It's going to put the dot in the middle, but I need to center the labels. So you just need to sort of keep that in mind. You can see I center that there. If I want to have each of them centered, I need to do this one at a time, right? I need to just do this summation. So I'm going to do a sum of the previous segments. There's sort of a better way to do this that's a little more formulaic, but you can see it's, for this series, for this example, it's no big deal. I'm just going to go in and change these, divided by 2, and you can see I have those lined up. So I can set up, and then I can move this 11.9% if I want a little bit closer. If I want it 11.0%, I moved it down here over here. So it's sort of just, oh, there it is. You can see it's because the colors changed. I didn't even see it, but it's right there. And if I want it a little bit, maybe I want it just a little bit, right? I keep moving these around and sort of play with them a little bit. and play with them just a little bit, and I can move them wherever I want. So I don't know which one is better. Let me bring this one over. So here's the first version next to the second version. I guess the thing I like about the alternative version is that the bars are thicker, which I think is a little bit better, and you don't have to mess around with the data. It's just little like 2 series, and you're kind of done. But you can see you can use that approach that Nick over at Spotlight Impact Data Design used to use the dual bars. So hopefully, I know this is a little quick. I know there's a lot going on here, but hopefully that's clear, and you can use this in your own work to add some custom labels to your bar charts and your stacked bar charts. So subscribe to this channel, check out more tutorials in Excel, PowerPoint, Tableau, and more. Thanks so much for watching the video.